To be honest, I love a grumpy slash mean MMC. Hi, and welcome to my channel, Intricate Knots Reads. I am so excited to have you join me for the next 30 days. Myself with about 70 other content creators are going to be posting under the tag Black BookTube is Reading. I'm super excited to use this as a way to launch my channel. So let's get into these questions. All right, so question number one. Who are you? Where are you from? And what kind of books do you love to read? As I said before, my name is Jade. I'm originally from North Carolina. I was born and raised in Durham. Shout out to the Bull City. Q Petey Pablo for my state. Thank you very much. And the genre of books that I like to read, I primarily read Black romance and urban fiction. Those are just the two things that I've decided to focus my attention on because I feel like they represent me the most, and I love to see my life, my community, my experiences reflected to me in the things that I read. Outside of content creation, I work in education, but I am also um, a calligrapher. And so Intricate Knots actually is my brand. I've used that name for probably about 15 years now. And so under that, I have this account, Intricate Knots Reads. I also have Intricate Knots on Instagram and on Threads where I'm always yapping and posting about books. And then aside from that, I have my calligraphy company, which is Intricate Knots Design Company. And I engrave all sorts of things, almost anything you can think about engraving, I engrave those things, um, including some book content and book goodies and gifts that I'll be launching pretty soon. All right, question two. What made you start a BookTube channel? As I said before, um, reading, I probably got back into reading as heavily as I do now about 2 years ago. And so, wanting to get back into content creation, I've had a podcast before. Um, at one point I was into content creation. I focused mostly on plus size fashion. And so I love to share the things that I love with other people. And so I decided to get back into my content creation bag and to launch a BookTube channel. All right, question three. What genres do you think deserve more attention within Black literature? I'm going to say urban fiction. I know that it does get a lot of attention, but sometimes I feel like that attention is directed in the wrong way. Um, as a lover of urban fiction, I love stories that reflect the Black experience. And so I wish that urban fiction would get its just due because it's not just hood love, it's not just broken homes. These are real people or reflections of real people's lives, I'll say. That's the problem when we think the books are real people. Hello. But I think urban fiction has its place and it does reflect the experience, the lived experience of a lot of people. And so I think it is underrated and I hope that it continues to be lifted up to the forefront. Next question. All right, question number four. Which Black literary character lives rent free in your head? Okay, so I'm going to go with two. And so the first one is Rowdy from In the Gray by BB Reed. It was my first dark romance read, but to be honest, I love a grumpy slash mean MMC. And Rowdy was a lot of things, but at the end of the day, you could tell what his intentions were. And so he lives rent free in my head. Like I find myself every now and then saying, I wonder what Rowdy doing. And then I would say the other character that lives rent free in my head is Jean Delgado from Jade. And I will tell you why. So if you know anything about Jade, Jean is the mother of several several siblings that she writes about that are all in a series. And so I say she lives rent free in my head because I started a list that I'll be talking about on my channel soon um, of what I like to call shitty fictional book characters. And so she is at the top of that list. and I am constantly adding more family members to that list. And so that is the reason Delgado lives in my head rent free, because I could be reading something completely different and say, you know what, that character needs to get added to the Jean Delgado list. Okay. All right. Question number 5. What book best represents your community, culture, or upbringing? I will say that I don't necessarily know I found a book yet that reflects all three. But I will say that I think a book series that I've resonated the most with and saw, or was able to see a lot of myself in, was the I can't remember exactly what she calls the Curve series. There we go, the Curve series by Danielle Allen, and so that's Curvy Girl Summer, um, Plus Size Player, and then this last book, which I loved, Big Girl Blitz. And so all of those characters are plus size women, and I think it resonates with me so deeply because I could put myself in the shoes of those characters, um, at different times as they're exploring their dating lives, as they're coming into their own, as they are um, trying to shun the stereotypes from the world about plus size women and what we like and what we deserve. And so I think that is a series that I could see myself in, and I think that definitely represents me, um, and also culturally. Question 6. Which Black author would you love to have dinner with, living or deceased? For me, that person would be James Baldwin. Um, when you think about James Baldwin's work, he was somewhat controversial in the time that he wrote just because of the things he talked about. He talked about the intersectionality between sexuality and race and politics. And to have him speak up about those things prior to the civil rights movement, during the civil rights movement, at a time that people weren't as open as they are today, I would just love to get more insight about his life and his experiences. Question 7. If a new viewer found your channel today, what books would introduce them to your reading taste? Thank you for asking. So there are a couple of books that I think would introduce people to my reading taste. I think the first of those is Capone. As I mentioned, Jacquel J. Jean Delgado's in this book. This is where she's first introduced. Um, but this book ignited um, me in my reading. And so I think that is definitely a book that I would say shows you a bit about my book style, and the things that I like to read. Another book would be The Oath by T.M. Richardson. She also writes under the name Tati Richardson. Um, and I really enjoyed that entire series. So that The Oath is the first book in that series. And I really enjoyed it because one, yes, it's erotica with the plot, since that seems to get the girlies in a tizzy sometimes. But she does a beautiful job of talking about what life could look like for someone after the passing of their spouse. And so, yes, it has the spiciness that I love, but it also had a really strong plot that I enjoyed. And then I think if I had a third book to introduce, I would say 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. That is another book where I just felt like I was within this story. Those characters just felt so real. And I actually heard Tia Williams say at Black Romance Book Fest that when people read her books, she wants them to feel the vibe of like that 90s kind of early 2000s vibe in New York. And that's precisely what you feel when you read her books. And so I think that would be another book that would show the kind of things that I like to read and show my style. Last but not least, if I were to finish the sentence, Black BookTube is, I would say Black BookTube is versatile. Um, there are all sorts of genres out there. I primarily read Black romance and urban fiction. That doesn't mean I don't dibble dabble in other things, in other genres at other times, but I think that's the beauty in Black BookTube, that there's so many of us reading all sorts of books, and so you get those different perspectives, and you get to hear that insight from all different people, and it opens you up to something new. I'm so excited to embark on this journey. 30 days straight is a lot. But thank you for joining. Please make sure that you are checking the description underneath the bar. Shout out to my girl, Miss P, so that you can see the other creators who are embarking on this challenge with me.